The hero, the protagonist, the character that drives the story forward. We all have our favorite heroes: Luke Skywalker, Michael Corleone, Indiana Jones, just to name a few. But what is a number one without a number two? What is a Michael Jordan without a Scottie Pippen? And more importantly, who does number two work for? This is the BXG podcast, and tonight we drop a deuce on our favorite movie sidekicks. I am one of your hosts, Brenton Beswick, and we welcome into the booth my co-host, Greg Filson. How are you this fine?
I'm glad we're in a booth. It's like we're in the Cheesecake Factory here. I'm ready to order big.
The broadcast booth.
Oh,
we're not in like a restaurant.
Oh,
the broadcast. Welcome in. I'm like introing the game, and then I got to bring in my color guy who's taking one too many shots.
Should I slide in? I'll slide into the booth, Chris Collinsworth style. Either way, I have cheesecake coming. I mean, either way, big old cheesecake here, $10.
What's the temp there?
What's the temp today? The high today was 71. I'll say right now is probably, it's probably high 50s. Once the sun goes down in this time of the year, you get dropped down. This morning on my drive into work, it was 44. What's it like there?
Oh, it's a balmy 5 degrees.
I don't miss that at all.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a balmy 5.
That is terrible. Balmy 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, it's a dry cold. That's what they say.
Yeah,
it's a dry cold.
It is a dry cold. So we're here. We're going to talk about movie sidekicks. We're going to give our list. We're going to give our list of our 10 favorite sidekicks. So what makes a sidekick? What makes a great sidekick? What makes a great number two, in your opinion?
A lot of greens. No, I think it's someone that brings, it's someone that brings the comedy. It's someone that, balances the other person out. If you're someone super serious, this person's a little lighter. If the person's very light, they're very serious. It's the shake and bake. If it were, it's the shake and bake. It's someone that helps people out of jams. I think that's a big thing for me. It's someone that may do a little dance for you. If they're, if you need to vote for them, it's someone that just is big and hairy. I think that helps too. So it's, someone also can just, play an instrument and help you out on your public broadcast television show. So there's all those little things.
That sounds like a lot of Easter eggs.
Someone that can really help you out or just let you drive their dad's car.
Sure.
All those things I think make you a really good sidekick. What about you, Brendan?
On a serious note, I think a thing that makes a good sidekick or a good number two or a good lieutenant to the general, whatever you kind of want to phrase it as, is I think that this is the old adage that dependability is greater than ability.
Sure.
The number two guy always shows up.
Yeah.
You can rely on him. He might not be the lead. He's not the hero. He's not the one inspiring minds throughout galaxies, etc. But he's there, and he or she, they're always there for, their compatriot. They're reliable. They're dependable. They might not be the best, but they're going to be there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So with that, I have 3 honorable mentions, and then we have our list of 10, plus we have some listener submissions.
I only have 1 honorable mention, but it's 2 people. And it's because I couldn't decide if they're actually sidekicks or they're just a duo that can't have a sidekick.
Okay. Do you want to do yours first then, since you only have 1.5?
It's Harry and or Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. It's a duo that have equal parts. They're both famous actors actually doing it. You may have a favorite. You may have a favorite of those two, but to me, it's like you can't have one without the other. Mm-hmm. And so initially I had I actually had Harry as my sidekick. I was like, well, he's not really a sidekick, And so I was like, this is my honorable mention because I still want to mention them as a duo that needs both, but I don't think one is officially a sidekick. Other than that, I wouldn't say I was like so serious about this list, but I was like really in this, like, you have to be the second fiddle. There is no thing for me there.
Mm-hmm. My excuse me, my honorable mentions. Jeremy Gray, Vince Vaughn, Wedding Crashers. I think he's clearly the sidekick.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson is definitely the lead. I think the story focuses more on him and his sort of courtship with Rachel McAdams and navigating that, whereas Vince Vaughn is sort of the little bit more levity, not quite as serious. He's a motorboating son of a bitch.
Exactly. And he doesn't even wear a belt.
Beltless. So that's number one. Number two is Garth Algar from Wayne's World. Dana Carvey here as Garth, who's sort of like the anxious, insulated, socially awkward sidekick to Wayne Campbell, who's played ably by Mike Myers. Michael Myers, not Mike Myers, the serial killer from the Halloween movies. I always confuse those two. And then finally, and I think that it speaks to my list and kind of the list that I curated here, that Buzz Lightyear is a honorable mention.
That's a good
pick.
Yeah.
Of course, being the sidekick of Woody. So I mean, Buzz Lightyear's an idiot, and that's what makes him the sidekick. Is he's a moron. I think that's what makes that character likable. Is just he's dumb. You know what I mean? He just, if you watch all four of those movies and then some of the shorts too, like you can tell Buzz Lightyear's an idiot. And Woody's the level-headed one, and
a couple screws loose there in Buzz Lightyear, a little too much time and space.
Right.
Which we'll find out.
I don't even want to talk about it. So we have some listener submissions. And I think what we'll do is let's go 10 to 5 or 10 through 6. Then we'll do the listener submissions, and then we'll
sounds good.
5 through 1. Do you want to go first?
All right. I'll go first. Yeah. My number 10, and I will say this was a list where like it was tough for me to go, really sort them out and go 10. But my 10 for me is Q, and it's the Ben Whishaw James Bond Q. Because from the earlier ones, Q always felt like he was, there was a lesser feel to him, that he wasn't James Bond, so he wasn't important. Q actually like matched wits. Ben Whishaw, known Paddington Bear, he is the voice of Paddington Bear as well. The best movie of all time. Best movie of all time. And so for me, he was such a great sidekick because in the first movie, he's not even in it, and people are clamoring for him. And then you get this version of Q, and he just matches wits with James Bond. He's not intimidated as James Bond. In a way, he's like, I'm better than you. I'm creating all these things that make you cool. And so I thought that for me as a James Bond fan was like a perfect Q. And he's young, and he's like, has his cute little things where he likes his cat and all this stuff. And he has this like kind of crappy apartment or whatever. So to me, Q is my number
10. My number 10, I felt like I had to have a Marvel guy on here.
Yeah.
So I slotted him in at number 10. But my favorite Marvel sidekick from the MCU is the Don Cheadle version, specifically Iron Man 2 of General James Rhodes, the War Machine. What I really like about War Machine is the juxtaposition of him versus Iron Man. Iron Man's sleek.
Yes.
He's like quiet. And then when War Machine lands and he has all this heavy artillery and you could just hear the weight just thunk on the ground. I really like that. I really like these two characters together. And I think whereas Tony and the Iron Man suit they're clean. It's, the hot rod red and yellow, and it's just sleeker in every way. And then you get War Machine, who is just big, heavy, brutish, all gray, grays and black. I think it just plays into that character a little bit more. And I think, they hinted around that Rhodey was going to become Iron Man and Iron Man 1 with Terrence Howard, where he's like, next time, baby. But,
Yeah.
Obviously he was recast. And nothing against Terrence Howard, but I think Don Cheadle works better in that role for me. And, we're going to see it. We're going to see more of War Machine in his own thing with the upcoming series Armor Wars. So I'm looking forward to that. And I really like this character.
Yeah, it's the Lamborghini, it's fast, it's furious, it's fun, but you still need a truck to haul stuff, and that's what War Machine does. And I really like that pick. For me, my number 9, this was tough, and I also have a Marvel character at number 9, but maybe not a Marvel character a lot of people are going to think of. It's Ned from Spider-Man Homecoming, the man in the chair.
The man in the chair.
I love Ned. And it was like, he's actually in the comic books, and he turns into the Hobgoblin in the comic books, actually. People may not know that, but in these movies, he's just sweet old Ned,
right?
Shy Ned. He wears his hat at the party. Homecoming is his best movie because you don't know what you're getting,
right?
And he's such a charismatic guy, and and so there's all these things that play well to him, where like he sort of has this fake confidence.
Yeah.
And then obviously Peter Parker doesn't. And so, but they kind of instill one in each other, and they're both very smart and all these things. And they have their handshake and everything. It's so perfect. I love it. I love Ned. I mean, I love Ned in all these movies. I just think Homecoming is his best because you don't know what you're getting from Ned when you first watch that movie. And you're like, wow, obviously he's great at doing this, but Ned is just like a fun character. And it's not the normal Spider-Man sidekick.
Right.
It's Ned, and it's different. He's not cool, and that's cool, but he is cool. That's the thing. So Ned, Spider-Man Homecoming, the man in the chair. It's my favorite Marvel sidekick because it was tough. Because a lot of times there actually aren't really sidekicks that work in these movies.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, you have a handful. I think obviously, like I said, Rhodey, War Machine, Ned. But other than that, I mean, you could maybe kind of say Bucky in Civil War a little bit, but outside of that, I mean, you're kind of grasping at straws. I mean, you could say Loki's Thor's sidekick a little bit it's right. It's not as clear splitting
cut
hairs.
As other ones.
Yeah, sure. So, but yeah, I like that pick. I actually considered that, to be honest with you, of putting Ned at least in the honorable mention category. Number 9 for me, I'm going to tell you, get your calculator out. Because 60% of the time, it works every time. Brian Fantana from Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, played very ably by the ageless Paul Rudd.
Yes, sexiest man alive.
Sexiest man alive. There's the 3 kind of tag-alongs to Ron in the Anchorman movies, but I think that far and away Brian Fantana and Paul Rudd is. I don't like the Steve Carell character Brick. I think that he's too obvious in the humor that he delivers.
The point, but I think that's the point of that point.
But I find it to be annoying when people say like, oh, Brick's my favorite guy. I love Lamp. It's like, that's not that funny. It's like basic funny. Whereas Brian's sort of over the top bravado, like false bravado, and his just ridiculous arrogance and his hair and his mustache and the way he saunters around and everything. I just think he's hilarious. And the Sex Panther cologne scene is maybe the highlight of the first movie. It's in the running.
I think so. Yeah. It was one of those things. I had him there, and then I had that feeling where like other people would be like, well, is he really a sidekick? Or is he just another character that is, and because that was the thing for me where like he doesn't really help Ron Burgundy. And that was the only reason, but I had him in that realm. And so I love him as a character. I do and so I think it's a good pick. It was for me just that one of those things where like I took the sidekick thing maybe too literally, probably in a sense. And in a sense, he is a sidekick to Ron because they're on the news team. And I was just too matter
Yeah,
of fact
and
about
that's the thing that because I
it.
had
Being
that thought as
pedantic.
well. I had that thought as well as, but it's not, the channel whatever news team. It's Ron Burgundy. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's
Yeah, yeah.
clearly Will Ferrell, Ron Burgundy's clearly the main character. And so those three are his sidekicks. And like I said, of the three of them, I feel as though Paul Rudd, Brian Fantana is my favorite.
He's my favorite character in the movie.
I wouldn't give him that. I think Ron is still my favorite character, but he's a close second.
It's one of those things where like the thing I'll say is Ron has funny scenes, but when Paul Rudd comes on the scene, it's 100% every time.
Yeah.
In that first movie,
60% of the time it works every time.
Exactly, 60% of the time it works every time. So my number 8, and it may be a little low because there's probably 2 sidekicks in this, but I picked my favorite sidekick of the 2, and it's Hermione from Harry Potter. She to me is the sidekick because she doesn't whine and act like a little bitch about things, and that's the problem I have with Ron. Even though I like Ron, like she kind of just goes along with the theme most of the time, and Ron always is like, I got these emotions, man, and Hermione's like, I can know how to do everything. Right. And I should probably be the lead character of this book. There's a lot of times when I was like actually reading the book and, before watching the movie, I was like, this should be called Hermione Granger. Like, because I like Harry also annoyed me a lot in the books. And the movies change things a little bit about how annoying they actually are. But the books, it's way more like Hermione's not as annoying to me. Hermione's just the smart kid. And so she's supposed to be annoying because she's smart.
Sure.
But in the movie, she is more of like the sidekick and the helpful sidekick. And I really just like Hermione in those movies. And so I picked the better of the 2 sidekicks and the one I think that actually helps develop Harry more in those movies. For me personally.
Sure. Number 8 for me is a gentleman who he would like people to think that he was named after a gun. But I know he was named after an 18th century ballet dancer. And it's Tommy from Snatch.
Nice.
Snatch showing up again.
You love this movie.
I love that movie. I love this movie.
We should have a Snatch episode.
I quoted it on.
I can't even say it.
I quoted it on the episode last night with Charles. I said it was,
I seriously, we should have a Snatch episode. Just
I don't know about that. So Tommy,
Snatch. I don't know what to do.
Tommy is Turkish, Turkish is played by Jason Statham, and he is a boxing promoter, an unlicensed bare knuckle boxing promoter, and Tommy is his number 2. And Tommy kind of kicks off the movie, the story of the movie inadvertently, because he goes to a camp that is inhabited by gypsies, or as they refer to them, Pakis. And Brad Pitt is one of the Pikeys, and they are supposed to be purchasing like a trailer, like a camper. They call him a caravan. Okay. It's a British movie.
Yeah.
And so he pits Gorgeous George into a bare knuckle boxing fight with Brad Pitt's character Mickey, and it doesn't go well for him. And that kind of kicks off the entire film as far as the chain of events that lead from one section to another. But Tommy is blindly loyal to Turkish. And I think that that's what makes a good sidekick. He would.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's the guy who's going to take the bullet. You know what I mean? He was, and he's got some humorous moments too, where he's like giving the speech about how the human digestive system isn't evolved enough for dairy products and stuff like that. So he's got some humor to him, but I just like the character. He's just intensely loyal to Turkish. And I love this movie. Like I said last week when we did the villain thing, if we ever do a guilty pleasure or comfort food movie list, everybody already knows what my number 1 is.
I mean, I think we just do a deep dive into Snatch. We just deep dive into a Snatch. What? That's what I said. I said it, and that was bad. But we need to deep dive into Snatch.
Proceed.
My number 6
Are we in 6 or 7?
is or 7. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
7.
That threw me off. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. My number 7 is Garth Algar, Wayne's World. You had mentioned it in your bit about just outside the top 10. For me, the reason why, and like these movies are insanely outdated. It's crazy. If you go back, I think I watched Wayne, the first one, the second Wayne's World was really not that good. It is what it is. But the first one is like still very outdated.
Yeah.
But if you lived in that time, it's still funny to you.
Yeah.
But this goes beyond those movies. We're picking movies and stuff, but the Saturday Night Live stuff. I mean, this is when I first really got into Saturday Night Live, and I've talked over and over again. I've watched like all those Saturday Night Lives. Up to that, really, I mean, I still catch up on the ones we're still happening today, but that's kind of where I just started getting into Saturday Night Live. And Garth is such a great, because it's the same thing you just said in Snatch. It's like, this is a guy that will just live and die with Wayne. Like, there may be a thing where they separate, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's Wayne and Garth. And that's cool. And it's, they're just party on Wayne, party on Garth. It's something that still is said by people of our age, and probably people younger than us don't even know what that means. And it's a good catchphrase. The only thing that probably sets them back is just how the movies haven't aged well. There's nothing like, it's not like a Ghostbusters thing where you can watch Ghostbusters and it's like, this is still cool.
Yeah.
If you watch this as someone who's like 15,
they're not going to get it at all.
They're not going to get it. They're not going to think it's funny.
No.
Ghostbusters is funny to everyone. This movie it just doesn't work. It's specifically made for the age group, which is a lot of time the Saturday Night Live movies at that time were just for a certain age. They don't age well at all.
Yeah.
But Garth for me is someone I had to make my list.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, just outside of the top 10 for me. It probably depends on the day. He might wiggle in there. Number 7 for me, and this is kind of a fun juxtaposition with one of your picks, but I have Ron Weasley.
Nice.
And
I like that.
I think the reason why is because I think it's actually, you kind of made the argument, you made my argument for me, which is you could almost say that Hermione has the ability to be the main character or the number one here, and Ron doesn't. He is relegated to a supporting character from the first page in the book and from the first frame in the film. You just know that this guy is the number 2. And I will say that it is kind of the same thing. And I know that there's moments that they quarrel in the films and they don't get along, but when push comes to shove, Ron's going to be the guy laying on the tripwire, taking jumping on the grenade, whatever reference for Harry.
Sure.
And I think the best example of that is probably in the first movie when he sacrifices himself during the game of Wizard's Chess that they have to play to eventually get to the Sorcerer's Stone. Like, he knows what time it is. He's going to sacrifice himself. And I think that is the definition of a good sidekick or number 2.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with,
I mean, I think you had to, in one way, shape, or form, you have to put Harry Potter in this. It's and we just each took a different way, which is fine. My number 6, and it's probably super weird, but I have Mini-Me.
I like it.
Okay. It's super weird, and it's such a great thing. And like the Austin Power movies are just,
I don't think they've aged very well either.
They haven't aged well at all.
Yeah.
Even the first one hasn't aged well, but Mini-Me just lives kind of forever because it's just
Vern Troyer.
Vern Troyer, and it's just R.I.P. What a legend. There's that meme of him carrying the chicken, which is still hilarious, but it's just so perfect. In the moment, like, was there a bigger character than Mini-Me? I mean, everything was Mini-Me. It was once he got introduced and he was Dr. Evil's, son, essentially. It's like, why can't you be more like Mini-Me and all this stuff? It was just so funny. And like I said, like you said too, these movies have not aged well, but I still have to have that connection with something. And when Mini Me first comes on the screen and first has this thing, it's a moment. And you saw these movies in theaters. It's a moment that like still is very funny. And so I had to have him in here. Whether or not he's better or worse than the people, it's just like it. I have to kind of go back to when I was that age. And it's like that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I may
sure.
not find it as
Right.
hilarious now, but there still has to be the accountability of like you did something that was hilarious. Good for you. It's James Bond related, and then taking that and spoofing it. And so it's all these things I like. I think it's great. I think Mini Me is great.
I didn't for a single second when I was doing the intro with the who does number 2 work for believe that I would be foreshadowing either of us picking an Austin Powers movie or an Austin Powers character. So that's fun. I like it. I like it. Number 6 for me is one of those things where it's like, is he the sidekick? Because of the way the film is structured, I say yes. So maybe I'm taking a little bit of liberty with this selection. Ray Stantz, Dan Aykroyd, Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Because I think clearly Peter Venkman's the main character. I think he's the main Ghostbuster. Bill Murray is the star of these movies. Now you could make the case, right, that it is.
This is why I don't have a Ghostbuster. I'll spoil it. I don't have a Ghostbuster because I didn't know what you do with this.
Yeah, I think that's the move. I think that very clearly, especially the first one, that Peter Venkman is the main character. He's the main Ghostbuster. And Egon and Ray are in support of him, and then Winston too a little bit. Not as heavily featured. But the other thing that I like about this character in a sort of sidekick role is he's got like more what appears on the surface to be unintentional humor, where Bill Murray is very obvious and intentionally funny.
Sure.
Some of Ray or Dan Aykroyd, some of his commentary in these movies, I still, to me, the funniest thing that anybody says, the funniest line in Ghostbusters 1 or 2, and I think it's in 2, is when Dan Aykroyd says, "Listen, you smell that?" To me, I think that that's hilarious.
It is.
And I think that, it's just, I mean, I love these movies. I think that Bill Murray's very clearly the star of the movies, in that Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd kind of play second fiddle to them. And so therefore Ray, I guess you could say, I mean, put them in together kind of like you did with Harry and Lloyd, is, you have Egon and you have Ray as sort of the sidekicks to Venkman. But I thought, in my personal opinion, I like Ray a little bit more.
Sure. I think that was just the hardest thing, because like you and I love these movies. So for me to separate it was a little weird, even though I agree with everything you said. For me, it was just like, I don't want to separate them. Not that it matters at all in that scheme of things. It's just, for me personally, I don't like to separate the Ghostbusters. It's like, I thought about separating the Ninja Turtles because Leonardo's the leader.
Yeah, but in the movies, he's not. Raphael is.
Raphael is. And that was the thing, because Raphael is actually my favorite from the cartoons.
Right.
So it was all these weird things about, I will 100% say I cared more about this than I should have. I was like breaking down the Turtles movies, and I was like, why did they make Raphael the leader in the movies, but not, and he's not, and I was like, I went too far. Too far. The ooze got me on that.
Sure.
But we'll get to our we'll get to our listeners.
Yeah. Let's do it. Samantha Yates, Dole Whip Dish Podcast.
Nice.
Olaf, Frozen 1 and 2, the best comic relief and an all-around joy. I'm not.
That's good. Oh, they changed their format of their podcast, by the way. So go out and support them. They're cool. We had them on. They're fun. The podcast is cool. They changed their format, but go and listen to them too.
Yeah, a lot of Disney stuff, and I think they've added some non-Disney content. Eddie McDonald, Petty Eddie Podcast, Robin, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin, which is curious.
Nipplegate.
Oh, come on, man. Instagram follower, Royal Pariah Milano from Scarface.
Yeah.
I feel ashamed at this. I had to I had to respond and message this guy and say I don't know who that is because I've never seen Scarface.
You've never seen Scarface?
No, I'm not a big monster movie guy.
Yeah, you're not. I mean, it was, it was on every college kid's wall when we were growing up.
It wasn't on mine.
Right, but it was like I
know.
like the movie fine. But I understand why people like those movies. But this is not my, my jam. But I like that pick. That is a good pick.
David S. from Carn City, no surprise here. Ron Weasley. Eventually, Carn City will get some new books in their library. We'll see. Tina C. Red, Morgan Freeman, Shawshank Redemption, great movie there. And then Devo Charles Gibb from True Lies, played by Tom Arnold. So those are our
nice. I like that. True Lies, great movie.
Thanks for sending those in. Appreciate everybody who participated as always. Keep the commentary coming. Shall I go first for
mix it up? You go ahead on this one.
Okay. So this one is probably like, I would say it's maybe a little bit out of left field in general when people would be putting together a list of great sidekicks, but it's not really for me because this is my favorite movie. But the character is Hamish Campbell from Braveheart. He is William Wallace's, grew up with him. They're best friends from childhood. And then he becomes one of his captains in the war against Edward the Longshanks. He's probably, and I actually leaned, this was another, like, I knew I was going to pick a Braveheart character, but I wasn't sure if I was going to go with Hamish or Stephen. Stephen is my name. I'm the most wanted man on my island, except I'm not on my island, of course, most of pity. But Hamish he's been there from day one since they were kids.
Sure.
And, great line. Either up to your rock.
Do you still watch this movie every year?
Like a worm. I try. I watch it as much as I can. I love this movie. It's great.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, Mel Gibson's fucking crazy, but this was way before he was that. So separate the art from the artist.
Not the artist.
Yeah. Favorite movie. I love this movie, and this is another great character.
That's fine pick.
Played by Mad Eye Moody.
I love that.
Same guy.
For me, my top 5 got really tough to divide where I wanted to actually separate. So because he's not necessarily always the sidekick, I put him at 5. We shake and bake, baby. We shake and bake. It's Cal Naughton, Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. This is my favorite Will Ferrell movie.
Really? You had Anchorman at number 2 when we did our comedy list.
Well,
or number 1. You had it at number 1.
I had it at number 1, but then I went back and I think I messed up. And because this movie, I probably actually quote more. And it's probably because of John C. Reilly. There's always those things where, like, when you rewatch this, and I rewatched this like 2 months ago. So that was after we did our thing.
Yeah.
This movie's insane. It's actually more insane than Anchorman. The plot gets so bizarre. Like, Anchorman doesn't have a plot at all. So, like, that's what since it's not bizarre, you kind of think Talladega Nights has sort of a plot, and then it goes so off the wire, and John C. Reilly goes away and he's like going against him. But the thing that makes this so funny to me is when Will Ferrell says, well, if you win, then that means I don't. And he convinces Cal, like, that's okay.
Right.
And that's what we were saying. Like, you have to kind of go along with everything. And then he kind of comes back into the fold, even all that. So I think I may have been wrong. I don't know. It's like you said, too, it's what you have watched recently. The comedies are kind of definitely that. It's sort of like music, too, where I think like serious movies kind of just stay where they are. But comedies, it's like, well, that's funny. Damn, I messed up. And this is just one of those things where, like, he's so funny. And he plays it so well. And then when he goes dark, it's also so funny because he still is kind of on the side, but he isn't really. Like, he wants to be, but he's like, what do I do?
Why am I talking to you? You ruined my life.
You ruined my life. But then he still goes back. So it's just so bogus. And it's crazy to me. It's like, because I thought about that. I was like, did I mess up with this? I don't know. but I think that's kind of Will Ferrell movies in a sense too. Like they're so bizarre
They're all
and there's
sketch
nothing
comedies.
right. They're all
just
sketch
that's what they
comedy.
are, you know.
And so it's kind of whatever hits you in the moment. But then like to go back on this movie and be like, holy crap, this was actually made.
Mhm.
Like Anchorman and Talladega Nights were actually made feature film movies, and they would not happen today.
I don't think
I don't think so.
You could make Ricky Bobby. I don't think you could make Anchorman.
I don't think.
Well, they made Anchorman
Bobby.
too. I mean, they made Anchorman.
Yeah,
too.
but that was like
not
such
only
a like
sexist
that was
and
just
racist.
they barely wanted to do that movie.
Yeah,
it was just
sure.
like that was a thing. Talladega Nights is just a movie where like it's so insane.
I think you could still make Talladega Nights.
I just don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, we don't see movies like this either way. Like it just don't see this anymore.
Not really.
But this one's just so bizarre, and I think that's why for me.
Yeah.
That's all. It's all I had. It's shake and bake. Plus, we said that all the time to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite line from Cal Naughton Jr., John C. Reilly in this movie is the whole like, I like to picture my Jesus wearing a t-shirt, tuxedo playing, and Leonard Skinner's playing, and Jesus is, that whole thing.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it's so good.
Number four for me is, we're getting into some of my favorite franchises, so it shouldn't be a huge surprise, I would say, to see the next three characters on this list, but this one may or may not be a little bit of a surprise, but it's Short Round from Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. The little Asian kid that Indy picks up. I think this is it's a loyalty thing, man. I mean, he fights the kid.
Thing, yeah.
He fights the kid. He tries to save Indy. He tries to save the rest of the kids in the temple. He's got a very memorable line in maybe kind of a, I don't know, sort of stereotype. Dr. Jones, that whole thing. But I mean, this is the weakest Indiana Jones movie, but I think that he's the best sidekick, because I don't think that, like, in Raiders you have Sala, but he's not like, he's there and he's a buddy, but I don't think that he's like truly a sidekick. Like, he's not going to lay his life on the line for Indy. And then Henry Jones Sr. in Last Crusade is, I just think he's not a sidekick. You know what I mean? To me.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he kind of is, but I don't know. I like Short Round better. Like, despite the fact that the Temple is easily the weakest Indiana Jones movie, but I think that Short Round is the best sidekick.
Yeah, he's a great sidekick. My number 4 is Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite.
You leaned heavy on the comedy.
Well, it's weird to me too, is like, I didn't realize it, but like, there with comedy, which a lot of actors, people say that's the hardest thing to do, is to play that, because you have to have that straight guy.
Right.
And so Pedro is the straight guy. But like Napoleon is also the straight guy in this weird way, where like, he isn't really funny, but he is hilarious. And Pedro isn't really funny, but he's hilarious. But it's that once again, I think loyalty is maybe the theme, is like, that's really the deal with this, is like, Pedro is 100% loyal to Napoleon. And this movie's insane. And I love this movie. It's one of those movies where I can't believe I don't watch it more often, because it stands the test of time. There's nothing about this movie that makes it one way or the other.
Sure.
But Pedro is just that perfect foil to Napoleon, because he's just like, I'm with you 100% of the way. Like, it's whatever you want me to do, I'll do. It's going to be a quiet, I'll do it. I may do it under the radar, but because he's so much like what you said, and I think, with all my top 4 for sure, it's like you said, it's 100% the loyalty. It's 100% like, I'll do what I need to do for the team, for this duo here.
Yeah, I wouldn't have pulled that, so that's a good one for you. Number 3 for me is is the genie from Aladdin.
Oh
And
yeah, that's
I
nice.
wasn't sure if I was going to go Genie or Abu, the monkey, but I think you got to
get
give
to
the
go Genie.
Genie.
You got
And
a
so
Genie, yeah.
we're clarifying this. This is the Robin Williams iteration of the Genie.
Yes.
It's certainly not
Yes. That should go
the
without saying, I hope, at this point in life.
yeah. But you know what? That movie, the live action one with Will Smith, is actually not that bad. It's not. It's not that bad. It's not that good. But it's not. It's not like a
Not good,
flaming
not bad.
train
We weren't
wreck.
the worst team in the league.
Yeah, it's not. What is that? Is that semi-pro?
No, that's actually oh my gosh, the coach for the the Washington football team before the team they were before. I can't think of the coach name all of a
Jay
sudden,
Gruden?
but no. Oh my gosh, he
From
coached
like way
Florida.
back in the day.
He coached Florida before
Spurrier,
he coached
the old ball
Spurrier, yeah.
coach.
Old ball
Yeah,
coach said
the old
that.
ball
Well, we
coach.
weren't the worst team in the team. We're didn't have the best record, but we weren't the worst team in the league. Spurrier, old ball coach. Yeah, I don't know why
Yeah,
his name escaped me there.
The old ball coach. Yeah, I mean the Genie. Wow. Hilarious in every way, and also I think the best circumstance where he shows that he's a great sidekick, loyal, as we've said, and like you said, I think that is kind of the theme here, is when Aladdin they try to drown him, and he basically said, okay, you move your lips like this, I would like to save me, Genie, and then he just does it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think too, like the flip side of that is that when he gets to his final wish and he could wish to be a prince again or whatever, he chooses to free the Genie. And I think that is the ultimate kind of test of loyalty, and they both show that. And Robin Williams is the Genie. What a performance.
Sure. It's one of those things where like you don't think about voiceover until you see a movie like that, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I get it now. Because there is something about that. It's like Robin Williams is the Genie, and that's very cool. Yeah, that's a good pick. I'm a little mad at myself for at least not putting it in my own mentions, but that's a good pick. For me, number 3 is Goose from Top Gun, because I love Top Gun. That movie is cool as hell. Number 1, that movie. To me, Top Gun might be the coolest movie ever. It radiates cool. You got Val Kilmer, you got Anthony Edwards, and of course you have Tom Cruise. They're flying fighter jets, and they got their sunglasses on. They're playing beach volleyball shirtless with their jean shorts on. This movie is so rad. I love this movie. I mean, I love Tom Cruise movies in general. This is just the most insane movie. It really doesn't make a lot of sense most of the time, which is cool with me. I love 80s movies, which is kind of weirdly how my list kind of runs out. But Anthony Edwards as Goose, he dies. Like, I mean, this is one of those things where
spoilers
like,
for a 40-year-old movie.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, I don't know what you're thinking. Top Gun's awesome, and we get Maverick coming out later this year, which is all I'm stoked for that, just because I love this movie. I don't care. I'll see this first day. I love Top Gun. Goose is a great thing. Everybody cool. Like, if all you do is Google search Top Gun and you look at images, you're like, this is cool. I want to be a part of this life. I want to be a fighter pilot. I want to wear these aviators. We're going to have a kick-ass time. And let's play some beach volleyball in jean shorts.
I think that's the scene that really stands the test of time.
Oh, it stands all the oily test of time. It's great. Great scene. Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you that scene. It's so good.
Yeah, run a YouTube search. Okay, number 2 for me. The great furry beast himself.
Yes.
Chewbacca. Talk about loyalty, man.
We don't
is there
do this.
anyone? Chewbacca is the unsung hero. He's the undercover. He's the true MVP of the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, and the thing is, we don't do this with these podcasts right now, but because we both have it number 2, he's my. Yeah, it's just like we might as well talk it out.
He's your number 2 or your number 1?
He's my number 2.
Okay.
He's my number 2. Yeah. Yeah. Chewbacca's amazing. It's
for a character who's been in 7 of these movies, I believe. All 3 original trilogy, all 3 sequel trilogy, and Solo.
So yeah.
Yeah. And you can't understand what he's saying the entire time because none of us speak Sherwook other than Han Solo, you know. There's just like, he's just the picture of a great sidekick, and Han and Chewie would die for each other.
Yep.
Like, no doubt.
It's amazing. It's like, it is literally like, to me, it's until I maybe get to my number 1, like, this is what you want in your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you kind of have your secret language,
right?
You'll do whatever you can to save that guy. You'll do whatever you can to help him out. There's like, in a weird way, it's like you and I. You're bigger. You're Chewbacca. I'm Han Solo. We have our little thing. I don't know. I mean, whatever. I'm not saying there's like, you're just bigger than me. That's all I'm saying. I could be Chewbacca and you're Han. I'm saying you're bigger. You're probably hairier than me. I don't have a lot of hair.
I'm not a very hairy guy.
I'm not hairy. Neither one of us are super hairy. I just can't grow any facial hair. You can grow some.
I can a little bit. Yeah.
And you can actually do the Chewbacca call, and I can't do that. So yeah, I can't do that.
Sad Chewie too.
Sure.
Which is really just being Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Yeah. And if we ever do TV sidekicks, maybe we'll get into that. Who knows?
Wilson.
Well,
Al Borland.
Al Borland, what a legend. Yeah, this is one of those things where, like, it's weird I had him at number 2, but my number 1 was like so strong for me that's why I have him at number 2.
That's interesting. I can't conceive what it will be, what your number 2 will be, or what your number 1 will be. It's I knew that we would cross over on that. Yeah, I'm surprised that we didn't have any other ones. I mean, unless your number 1 is the same as mine, which I highly doubt.
I honestly thought if we have the same number 1, then we've never actually talked to each other.
Yeah, we'll see. I can't conceive what your number 1 is. So
okay,
I'll get to my number 1, and this is kind of, not to get like emotional, but this is kind of a tribute to my dad a little bit, right? Sure. My number 1 is The Sundance Kid from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, one of my dad and I's favorite movies together. A lot of great lines. Robert Redford plays Sundance. Can I move? Like, oh, hit that, when they're down in Bolivia, and the guy says, well, shoot that. And he said, well, can I move? And he's like, well, what does that even mean? And he shoots it just standing still, and he can't hit anything. And then as soon as he is able to like move and shoot at the same time, and he lights it up. Hell, the fall will probably kill us. That's like I think, unfortunately, 2 movies starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford that are going to be kind of like lost to time a little bit as we just get further and further away from them. One being Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and then the other one being The Sting, which is another one of my dad's favorite movies.
Same.
But I think that, like, he's the silent sniper. You know what I mean? He's not a lot of dialogue from Sundance. He's just the badass. Like, that's his job. And I think that he does that very well. Whereas Paul Newman, who plays Butch Cassidy, is kind of the mouthpiece. And I think that because of that, it's clear that he is the sidekick. It's not Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy. It's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So for me, Robert Redford, the Sundance Kid from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, is my number 1 best sidekick.
That's awesome. And I'll be 100% honest. I didn't pick this intentionally because I knew you and your dad had that kind of thing. And I love The Sting more than Butch Cassidy, because Paul Newman, if we ever do our best actors, they're going to rank very high on my list. I love Paul Newman, and I love both those movies. I watched this movie with you and your dad one time, and it was one of those movies where, like, your dad just, like, you're silent. Like, it's one of those things, he's seen it 100 times. It didn't matter. It was just like, you had to watch this movie with your dad, and it was a cool experience. And that's just like one thing where I thought about it. I was like, no, I need to have this for Brenton and his dad because that was your thing. And yeah, I mean, I totally love that movie. I love both of them. Mine's a completely different angle on this. I have Cameron Fry from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I absolutely love that movie, and it's so weird. I watch this movie about every year now for past 6 or 7 years. I don't really know why. I just started watching it every year, and every year it gets better for me. And I don't know. I really like 80s movies. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
And then there's the fan theory that like Cameron Fry is actually just kind of the Fight Club thing where it's like he's not even real. He's just Ferris Bueller's like made up person. Whatever that is, it's like we talk about the loyalty and like the fact that he just says, I'm giving you this car. And it's my dad's car. It's his private possession. Like, I don't care anymore. We're doing whatever you want to do, Ferris. And it's that loyalty. It's that I don't care anymore kind of thing. It is just like extreme like friendship, and it's the high school friendship, which is always different than other things. It's like, you know, you and I have been friends since high school, and there's that thing where like Ferris and Cameron are probably still friends in the world of like things like that. And it's just there's something about like through thick and thin, through other things, you may not talk. I mean, obviously we talk now every week, but you may not talk for weeks at a time, which has happened with us before we did this podcast.
Yeah.
But you and I are still like very close. And like, if something actually drastically happened, like I know I could tell you, or you could tell me and stuff like this. And that is always felt to me like Cameron Fry and Ferris, no matter how far away they were. And it is weird. And like, I didn't intentionally think about this in the moment, but then I was like, it's the way I feel like you and I are. It's if like, F it. If I needed to do something for you and it was costly to something else that maybe I thought I would do it, and I felt like you would do the same way. And to me, that's why it's like it's the friendship where like, you know, some people die, but you don't need to die or anything to prove a friendship. You just need to be like,
I don't want to die.
Screw it. Right. Exactly. I don't want to die.
I don't want to be an orgy guy.
Yeah, I don't want to be an orgy. I don't want to be an orgy guy. And it's like one of those things. It is weirdly too kind of the George and Jerry thing, where it is that like friendship where like, yeah, they can kind of goof off her, but like they do kind of have their backs no matter what. And so I love this movie. It grows on me every year. And I grew up liking this movie, but then like, honestly, I watched it last year and I'm like, oh my God, like, is this one of my favorite movies ever? Do I like this more now for whatever reason? And it's because I think that connection with them. And yeah, I mean, like there's other parts of this movie that are really cool, but there is that thing where like they are best friends. And there is a thing where like one could live in Chicago and one could live in Los Angeles, but like, and they may not talk for months, but then, you know, they get together and it's nothing changed. So that's why Cameron Fry is my number one.
Number one. There it is. There you have it. Yeah, you went very comedy heavy.
I was not, honestly, it was one of those things where I like literally just looked up movies and I was like, movies I liked, and I like was going through and I narrowed it down. I was not expecting to go comedy heavy at all. Yeah. And it just worked out that way.
Yeah, I had two in my honorable, and then I had two in my main list, and then everything else. And then even like one of those is Ghostbusters, and that's like, it's a comedy, sci-fi, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm more serious. I wouldn't necessarily have expected us to go the ways that we did, but I also liked it because, like we said, we only have one crossover, and it was one that was, and it was
at the same number too, which is weird. Yeah, I think that was like cool. Yeah,
yeah, and it was an obvious one. So,
sure.
So that's our list of top 10 movie sidekicks. Next week, we're going to be doing, for the Monday episode, a preview of everything that's coming in 2022 to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the TV shows and the movies. And we're going to have a guest who runs his own Marvel specific podcast. So that'll be fun. And we'll talk about that. And yeah, you know, we'll see. We've got some other stuff in the works that is coming along. And for the Monday episodes, for the more kind of focused sort of thing, rather than, you know,
if you're a writer, actor, producer, and you just want to shoot the S with us for a Monday episode,
you're allowed to curse.
I don't, you know, I work for school and I don't want to. I don't know.
Fuck
shoot the shit.
Man.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
If you want
There
to
you
shoot
have
the
it.
shit with us, please do.
I
That'd be
would
awesome.
say I've thought about. Here's my thing: is if you're an indie creator of any kind, okay, music,
Yeah.
books, YouTube content, podcasts, whatever, and you would like to be featured, shoot us a message, and we'll
Mhm.
figure out a time that works. I think that the one thing we said, we want to have more guests. We want to have guests maybe outside of our own wheelhouse. So, let's figure out how we can do that. So if you're
Or if you're an agent of Gal Gadot,
you're
shoot
ridiculous.
us an email. We can do this in person, Gal. No problem. No problem.
Yeah, I'm
Get the
vaxxed
place
and
looking
boosted.
tidy here. I'm
Yeah.
double vaxxed, triple vaxxed, and boosted. We're good to go. Yeah. Okay.
You can catch the BXG podcast every Friday and Monday at 9 a.m. on Pod Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Time, 4 a.m. Hawaiian Time
Aloha.
on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, other podcast services worldwide. You can catch us on social media, facebook.com/BXG Podcast, Instagram @BXG Podcast, @GTFills, @Y2B, Twitter @BXG Podcast, @GTFilson, @Y2B, and our YouTube channel, BXG Podcast. I would add that if you want to participate and submit, your listener feedback for last week, we did the villains. This week, we did the sidekicks. We're going to have more list episodes, and we want user or listener submissions. Instagram is where you can do that in the BXG Podcast Instagram account stories, or you can just let one of us know. Like, that's acceptable as well.
Yeah. Fine.
Totally acceptable. So this has been our top 10 favorite movie sidekicks, and we will see you next week. Thank you and take care.
Weekend hug. Thank you.